Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Raleigh, North Carolina, the channel that helps you learn why the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill Triangle area of North Carolina is the coolest place in the Southeast to live. My name is Ken Cannon, and today we're going to be taking a look at an awesome Raleigh neighborhood called Oakwood. But before we do, remember, hit like, share, and subscribe, and if you're thinking about moving to the area, reach out to us at the number below. We'd be happy to help you move here. We help people move from all over the country, all over the world in fact, and we'd be happy to help you too. Alright, today we're looking at Oakwood. Let's do it. You're watching Living in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is your host, Ken Cannon, here to tell you why living in Raleigh, Durham, or Chapel Hill, North Carolina is the coolest place in the Southeast. Alright, thanks for watching and stay tuned. Alright, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Raleigh neighborhood Oakwood. Now this neighborhood is actually considered Raleigh's only remaining intact 19th century neighborhood. In fact, this was one of the very first what they called suburb neighborhoods at the time. Of course, that's laughable now because they're right downtown. This one, however, is very unique because not only does it border downtown, but it also borders a historic Confederate cemetery. So that was something I think starting in the late 1800s that became a Confederate cemetery, and they moved many of the soldiers' bodies there to memorialize them. So it's kind of a unique setting in the sense that it butts right up against it, and it's a beautiful cemetery with many incredible monuments. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about the neighborhood of Oakwood. So Oakwood itself is located on the northeastern side of downtown Raleigh. It is bordered by a historic Confederate cemetery on one side and just shrouded completely in these old oak trees that make it a very serene place even though it's very close to downtown. Now Oakwood, much like similar age neighborhoods, is comprised of many different housing styles. You see, in this one, you see Victorian housing styles. You see coming into the turn of the 20th century, you start to see that change shape. We actually see some craftsman homes in that neighborhood. We see coming into the middle of the century, we start to see these neo-colonial homes in there, which are these very small, cute cottages. We'll talk a little bit more about those later. But it's kind of changed its face over time, but has always, well, I say always, it's always had a charm to it. Similar to other neighborhoods in Raleigh, we saw kind of economic upturns and downturns, and we see a wave of people moving in and out of this neighborhood along with those turns. So what started out as a very opulent neighborhood that catered mainly to the politicians and businessmen of downtown Raleigh and had these large Victorian style homes, what started out as that then kind of morphed once you got into second and third generation ownership with the advent of the motor vehicle. More and more people started moving out of that area. It became less and less fashionable as the suburbs grew more and more fashionable. And this time we're talking about, you know, real suburbs. We actually have to drive out to get to them. As that became the trendy thing, the houses and the demand there in Oakwood, they just kind of deteriorated. So what happened to these large houses is the same thing we saw in Boylan Heights, where many of these really large stately homes were chopped up into apartments and rented out, and that was just to get the most value out of them that the owners could, because there really wasn't the demand there that had existed previously. So that happened well into the 30s. Then coming out of World War II, what we saw was that's when we started getting into the neo-colonial time that I had mentioned previously. Now those neo-colonial homes are these small, the name sounds grandeur, but it's not. They're these small little shoebox ranches, kind of square looking things. I think we have an example of them that I can show you. But they make for cute little cottages. They're very cute little cottages, and especially now with all of the trees and everything that have grown up and are huge in that neighborhood, they look very, very cute in that setting. So very cool. Also, another interesting thing about that style of home is you see many of those across the triangle that are actually from the Sears Roebuck catalog. That's right, you used to be able to mail order all of the parts of your house and assemble it on site. And I gather that was quite affordable at the time, or quite cost effective because you see, like I said, you see many of them across the triangle, and they're very interesting. They have slight differences than what you would see of normal just kind of site-built construction. The walls are a little thinner, you can kind of see where they join together, but you know, here we are decades later and these homes are still standing, so there's got to be something to the quality. Much like being one of the first neighborhoods in Raleigh, it's also one of the first to see the economic recovery. Once you came into the 1970s, after it had kind of gone through its most depressed era, we started to see renewed interest, and that had to be due to the proximity to downtown. So we started to see renewed interest. With that comes renovation of these homes, and since then it really has just taken off. I mean, that was in the 70s, of course. Many of the homes were purchased, restored, brought back to some of their original glory, and now a lot of the homes in there are just gorgeous. That said, they remain in high demand, so getting a home in there is pretty tricky. There are only 3 sales there in the last year that we've seen, and you'll see the prices range from around $350 a square foot to $370 a square foot. That's what we've seen houses sell for there recently, with varying footprint sizes, so you can do the math, kind of work your way up. However, like I said, there were only 3 sales, so there's not a lot of opportunity to get in there. If you are interested, you kind of really have to be on it. In 1974, Raleigh actually designated Oakwood as its first local historic neighborhood. It also was put on a National Historic Registry of Historic Neighborhoods. Now that we've talked a little bit about the history of the neighborhood and kind of the ups and downs that it's seen, let's talk a little bit now about what the residents who live there now get to experience. So not only do they get the proximity to downtown Raleigh, which is super convenient, they have the nice serene cemetery on one side. There is a dog park to the north of it where you can take your dogs and walk around. There is easy access to downtown restaurants, easy access to nightlife, all of that stuff. So it's a really great experience, but it doesn't feel, you know, it's a very convenient, easy city experience, but it doesn't feel like you're in a city. You kind of have this oasis feel over there where it's closed in, it's protected, the trees have really sheltered it in, and it makes for a nice, really peaceful part of town. One of the other aspects of the neighborhood is the sense of community that exists there. There's a great association there that helps enhance that sense of community, and they put on community events. The most popular one is the Candlelight Tour, and in fact, Oakwood is having their 50th annual Candlelight Tour this year. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they open up select homes. Many of the larger homes that are there in Oakwood, they open them up to the public, and you can walk around, and the other homes are lit with candles, and it makes for a really great December walk and seeing some of these older homes restored. Alright guys, I think we've got a good sense now of what makes Oakwood so special, why it's such a great place to live in Raleigh, and why it's so in demand. If you are interested in trying to get into a home in Oakwood, or any other place in Raleigh, or the Triangle for that matter, reach out to us at the number below. We would be happy to help. Until then, this has been Ken Cannon with Living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.